Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Amazing. I hope everyone is enjoying summer, keeping cool. We've had some dangerously hot temperatures here in the Chicago area. Um, Welcome to our June strategy session. I'm actually on vacation, so I'm gonna try to jump out of vacation mode and jump into this really important June meeting. It is Black Music Month. It is Juneteenth month. It is summertime. And so we are very fortunate to have a community of practice that is really leaning into arts and culture, and particularly music. If you joined early, which some of you did, we started with the video from AEO, which will be actually available on YouTube soon, maybe even tomorrow. But we are excited that AEO is going to be accompanied by about 15 additional songs, and an entire album that includes KRS-One and Scarface and Raz Kaz and our own Tricky Trev and Nikki T and many other incredible artists. So do look forward to that music being released on streaming platforms everywhere very soon. I am going to make sure I Perfect. So I want to welcome everyone. Do we have anyone that is here for their first meeting today? If you do, hey, family. Oh, who's Robin Rue? I'm Robin Rue. I don't know who that is. I think my daughter might be in under my name. Either way, we're glad that you're here. This meeting is available to the entire movement, those are new to the movement, those that are advancing the movement, whether you're on a task force or you are playing a role as a stakeholder or institution that is supporting the work. There are so many of us now that are in this movement. Please do feel free to share this with others in your community as we learn and share together. We get together, we open with our regional reports, and then we dive into some inspiration or some learnings. Today we have both. We have both inspiration and learnings with our presentations, and then we make sure that we share updates among each other, and we keep moving along in the movement. And so I'm going to share our updates at First Prepare. I know they were prepared for me. I don't see them, but I'll tell you that we have an exciting listening session that's going to be happening here at First Prepare. So if you're anywhere in the Chicago land area, it will feature Alaz, Golden Child, and Tukiman. These are three of the artists that are on the album. It is 6 to 9 p.m. here at First Prepare. There is no cost. All are welcome. Registration is required. You should receive an invitation to that in your email inbox sometime today, actually. And in addition to that, we are going to be hosting a really exciting program in partnership with Professor Al Tillery at Northwestern University. Our own Christy Williams from Tulsa, Oklahoma will be coming to Evanston and Northwestern to share her programming on Black History Saturdays with our student population for college and high school here in Evanston as well. There may be a virtual component to that. So please do pay attention to your emails if you are interested in participating in that virtually. And in addition to that, please do get familiar with our website. There's a lot of updates, a ton of new resources. There are new toolkits from our partners, including our own new mapping resource. That resource is available. It is our resource to share and own. So we need you to check your organization and check the initiative that you represent and make sure that it's updated. If it is not updated, or if it is incorrect for any reason, please do submit a update or submit that it is included in the map. And that is available independent of the website. It's available at reparationsresources.org. We're excited about that. Is a partnership between Decolonizing Wealth and the Economic Policy Institute, along with First Repair and all of you. And I will turn over announcements to our partners. I'm not sure which of our partners are here. We've recently had one of our partners transition from ICTJ. I think we all know that she's now going to be at Liberation Ventures, but she does have a colleague that will step into her place from the International Center for Transitional Justice. So if you are here, if you could unmute yourself and just introduce yourself.
Of course. Hi. Thanks, Robin. Hi, everyone. Hi. Yes, so as Robin said, Virginie Ladish is no longer at ICTJ, but we're thankful that she's still staying in this space and working on reparative work and reparations in the US. But for ICTJ, I'll be in this space representing the organization. I've worked closely with Virginie for a number of years, and over the last few years, worked closely with her on work in the United States, supporting efforts in Detroit, Washtenaw County, Maryland, and Vermont. And I look forward to continuing to be a part of this space and offering ICTJ support.
Thank you, Emma, for being here. If you have contact information you can share, if you don't mind putting it in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll drop it right in the chat.
Awesome. And do we have anyone here from Redress Network? Or the Thurgood Marshall Civil Rights Center? Okay, did Cam make it on the call? Cam Howard has an announcement for an event that he's hosting. There he is. Cam, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Robin, and greetings, everyone. Yes, I'd like to announce on August 1st, the first day of Black August, Reparations United is hosting a webinar, a national webinar entitled Federal Redress in the Era of Trump. Many people think that because the Republicans control all three branches of the government, that there should be a low priority on federal redress at this moment. We hold a different position. And our webinar will make the case that with the proper strategy and movement actors from the local levels around the country, that we can actually move the federal needle on reparations, not as we've envisioned in the past, but creatively with the new strategy that we'll lay out on August 1st. I've asked Bailey to put the webinar registration link in the chat. Also, I want everyone here to actually review a video presentation that I made at the 2023 Evanston's First Repair NARC Symposium, where I indicated and admonished all of us in the movement that we have a dual responsibility in the movement of acting at both the federal and the local level. If you came in the movement only at the local level, you still have a responsibility to move forward with the federal level initiatives. And so this gives us an opportunity. There's a lot of blame to go around on why Trump won and the Democrats didn't win. But I also have to lay some of that blame on those of us in the reparations movement that didn't push forward a collective organized effort when we could have. And we have this opportunity now. And so we'd like for you to join the webinar, assist us in building this new national federal network that will get reparations initiative passed at the federal level during what we believe may be a long, very, very long Trump era. So again, the registration link should be in the chat, as well as that 15-minute video. Please watch the video at your earliest convenience. Thank you.
Thank you, Cam. And are there any other announcements, events? I want to just pause and just send some energy to Sister Christy and all our family in Tulsa that dealt with a tragedy on one of the most beautiful days in Tulsa for the nation on Juneteenth. So Christy, sending you energy and love and support for that. Sister Robin Prouty.
Hi, and I second that. I want to send love and light to those in Tulsa and everything here in St. Louis. You know, we had that tornado, and a lot of my family and churches that I engage with were affected. And I just want to your prayers for us here in St. Louis. But I just wanted to make an announcement, two things. I did receive a grant from Liberation Ventures, a rapid response grant, after the SLU had to pull out of our first reparative justice formal apology from St. Louis University. So to move our movement forward, we are hosting September the 19th, our the SLU, well, from acknowledgement to action, the SLU Reparative Justice Summit. It's a one-day working summit. We're bringing scholars from all over the country, reparative justice experts to come and convene, and we want to leave there with a report that we're going to not only submit to St. Louis University on what institutional accountability and reparations can look like, and hopefully we can use this as a model for other institutions. We have other descendant communities that will be convening with us, like the descendants of enslaved communities at UVA and others. So we're super excited that the SLU is hosting this with Ariva Martin. And we have many, many scholars who have already confirmed their participation. And after that, we're going to open up an invite for those, because we have such a small budget, but we're so thankful. We do want people who are able to come to please come and join us, especially in the workshop portion, where we want the community, the stakeholders, to join in on constructing this report. When I was in Washington, D.C. at the assembly that we had, that really helped to shape what we're going to do here, because there we were able to draw down on the movement and what we need to do, and to be able to come together collectively. And I do agree with Cam, and I really want to, when we say that not only do we focus on the local level, but we do have a responsibility to support the national level as well. So anyway, we can do that. Secondly, as a way to, I have enrolled in St. Louis University School for Professional Studies to get my bachelor's with a fast track to master's degree. When I was in the Navy, I did go to SIU Carbondale, but I had to stop because of the Persian Gulf War, and I had to deal with that. And it has always been my dream to finish my degrees. So what better way to do it is for St. Louis University to waive all my fees, tuitions, books, and give me a stipend. So I have applied for that. I sent a letter to the Board of Trustees and the president to waive those fees. And so we're going to sit back, and I told them to expedite that because I want to start in the fall, in October. So we're going to see what they're going to say about that. So that is my announcement, and thank you. You're on mute, Robin.
Thank you, Robin. Excited for you. We have time for one more quick announcement. Joel, great to see you.
So good seeing you, Robin. I just wanted anybody that is in the Louisville area or wider area, we will be hosting in Louisville Reparations Generation on July 29th. And I will put my email there for anybody that might be interested in that.
Awesome. Thank you. And so next we're going to get into our regional reports, and I see our regional leaders here. I'm going to ask Brother Jamoke Afateo from the South region to open us up.
Greetings, everyone. Yeah, so first of all, the South region meets on the first Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. And this next meeting will be on July 1st. But just a couple of highlights from the South region. We wanted to lift up the fact that in North Carolina, through land back, that the Black community was giving back some land, and they're using that land to create a park. They're calling it Reclamation Park, and we're thankful for Sister Lady Sunshine for reporting that out. That's in Saluda, North Carolina. Also happy to connect with Sister Angela Parson, who's working with the Guardian newspaper, or the Scott Trust specifically. They have a program called Legacies of Enslavement, and they are in the community. She's in the community in the Geechee Gullah corridor, focusing on looking at different organizations and ideas to do some reparatory justice work in the Geechee Gullah corridor. Coming from the Guardian newspaper, will be putting financial resources into that. And then the North Carolina Black Leadership Organization is having discussions around reparations. So we're looking forward to seeing what will come out of that, as they're looking at, statewide, organizing at the statewide level. And now reparations is being considered as one of those statewide issues to organize around. And then the last thing I just want to close out is thank Brother Jeff Trask for connecting me and connecting us to Alyssa Nickel, who organized a very powerful convening in Memphis, Tennessee, focusing on the work going on in Memphis and Louisville and Atlanta that they're doing, looking at how to bring Afrofuturist lens and a reparations lens to community economic development and housing development specifically. And so we just had, both myself and Jeff spoke at that convening, and it was very powerful, impactful convening. We made a lot of connections, and so looking forward to see what comes out of that as well. That's my report. Again, we meet on the first Tuesday of the month. The next meeting is July 1st at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there any one last quick update that may have been forgotten from the South region that we should note? We do keep a report. It helps us update our map and so on. Okay, moving on. Next, we have from the East region, Brother Attorney Jean-Pierre Brutus.
Thanks, Robin. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all well. So for the East Mid-Atlantic region, our meetings are on the 4th Tuesday of every month at 5 p.m. And we just met this past Tuesday. Our next meeting will be on July 22nd at 5 p.m. So please join us if you're able. So just a couple of highlights from our meeting on Tuesday. In New York, the New York City Commission had their first hearing or gathering on June 10th. They also will start having virtual sessions. So there's the New York City Reparations Commission, which comes out of the Charter of New York City. And then on June 11th at the Schomburg, I attended the State Commission's public hearing. In person, they had some public presentations, including from Professor Gregory Carr, and then they had public comment as well. And then also in Boston, or I really should say Massachusetts, they're trying to organize a screening of The Big Payback in Malden. And on July 4th, they're going to have an event at the Royal House in Medford. If you're familiar, Isaac Royal is the enslaver who enslaved, who basically benefited and profited from slavery and laid the foundation for Harvard Law School. And I'm sorry, I'm blanking right now on Belinda Sutton. Belinda Sutton is a petition is really against Isaac Royal in the family. So that's the key right there, the connection. Sorry about that. And then also I want to put in the chat in Maryland that Pastor Robert Turner wrote an op-ed, basically, lamenting Governor Westmore's inability to sign the legislation for the task force bill. So I'm going to put that in the chat so you all can take a look and read if you can get access to the Baltimore Sun. And making his public criticism of the governor, letting anyone know. So take a look at that. And then also I want to highlight that the New Jersey Reparations Task Force completed its final report and its harm report, also policy recommendations. And so if you go to this link, you can read the report, which is for such a time as this, the nowness of reparations for Black people in New Jersey. There's an executive summary if you don't have time to read the whole report. And then also here is the video of the event this past Juneteenth in Newark, which had 2 panels, including with Dreesen Heath, who's on the first panel. And the keynote speaker was Mayor Raza Baraka, the son of Amiri Baraka. And on the second and last panel, I'm on the panel, but also Larry Hang, who was the youngest delegate to the 1972 National Black Political Convention in Gary, Indiana. So if you have time, take a look at that video. and please enjoy. So that's it for our updates from the East Mid-Atlantic region.
Thank you for that. And next, we're going to move on to the Midwest region, Brother Dr. Jeffrey Trask.
Thank you, Robin. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to see everyone today. First off, our meetings are every fourth Tuesday at 1:30. Our next meeting will be July 22nd at 1:30. And I'll just give a quick brief update on things. I'd like to second Jamoke's comments about the Memphis conference/retreat with the developers and reparation movement efforts, and Afrofuturism was a really unique and very fulfilling event that was attended. And I do look forward to the outcomes of that too. Just some things around the Midwest. Robin Prouty already shared a bit about what's going on with St. Louis University. They are going to be meeting with the board to talk about a monument that they did approve for the ancestors there. St. Paul with Traherne, they had a listening session and got pretty good feedback from that. I'm going to build on ongoing partnerships with some of the churches and other people based off of that. At Wichita, Kansas, Mary Dean has a proposal and ordinance for the city council. It's going to be proposed to the public probably sometime next month in July. Prophet brought up some interesting things, including artificial intelligence, and we had a little conversation about that, which also came up in our Memphis conference as well. So some of the things about having us keep up as Black folks with AI, so we don't get left behind. Also, in Evanston, we covered a few things there, but DNA kits will be delivered to Evanston with Dr. Lakeisha David, be able to do DNA testing for folks here in Illinois to reconnect it with their families. And then also they had their Reparations Stakeholder Authority of Evanston meeting launched last month, which is managing the approximately $1 million that the faith community raised for reparations in Evanston. In terms of Kansas City is still pushing their Educate to Reparate campaign. They're vetting contractors right now. They also had a discussion about some funding that has been held up for their research group because of some potential conflicts with federal government funding with DEI stuff, and they're hoping to keep that DEI reparations thing separated so that they don't have to deal with not having funding for that. Also, I know in Chicago, I think they finalized their commission. I know Miranda Alexander in Cobra was selected to be on that, so that's great news. Also, Reverend Robert Spicer, who was a panelist for a town hall we had down in Champaign recently, is on that Chicago's Reparations Commission as well. Speaking of the which, I'd like to publicly thank Renee Relaford and Robin Prouty for coming to Champaign for our June 5th Reparations Town Hall meeting, which went extremely well. I had a lot of key people in the audience, and so a lot of momentum built off of that. Also in Champaign, we have presented to City Council for them to do a vote to form a commission for the city of Urbana, and so we'll know about that next month. And then finally, what am I missing? State Reparations Commission for Illinois. They are going to have their harms report done sooner than expected, probably by the end of the summer. There's going to be some reviewing of everything, and then we hope to have recommendations to come out for public input sometime early fall, and then we'll kind of go from there. I think that's everything I have for the Midwest, unless I missed something for anyone who's here can share if I missed anything.
Thank you for that report, Jeff. And then last, Davita Ingram is our West Region leader. Keep her lifted up in your thoughts and prayers. She's had a death in her family. She will not be joining us today. If you are in the West region, if you could unmute yourself, if you have a significant milestone to report. Moving on, we will make sure that we have a written report to share with the West region in Davita's absence. She'll be gone for a couple of months. And so now here is the main event. We are so fortunate to have our own Tricky Trev and his brilliant partners in the movement, in the arts, Italy, Jare Lee, and Delaney Jordan. Their bios are included in the registration. They're too long to read. They're incredible, extraordinary, young, Black, and gifted. Trevor, if you want to do any further introduction before you start your presentation, and let everybody know about Bliss. Maybe everyone here doesn't know about you co-founding Bliss and what your vision is there, and more about what you're doing for arts and culture. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it. Hey, Robin. And hey, everyone. Pleasure to be with y'all. Yeah, my name's Trevor. My pronouns are he, him. Usually based in New York. I'm in Mexico right now on vacation, as you can see from the fit, but definitely wanted to make this and spotlight some of our amazing poets. Yeah, Bliss stands for Black Liberation, Indigenous Sovereignty. Some of y'all may have met me while I was at Liberation Ventures as the director of narrative change. But yeah, Bliss is about 15 months old. I went full-time 15 months ago, but the idea has been around for about 2.5 years. My co-founder, her name's Savannah Romero. She's Eastern Shoshone, which is the tribe around the Seattle area. Yeah, we had this conversation about why isn't the Black-led reparations movement and the Indigenous-led land back movement more closely tied together? And then how can we braid that narrative around Black liberation and Indigenous sovereignty to a broader narrative around shifting our economy writ large? So I'll talk a little bit about that today, but yeah, today's really about our poets. Let me share my screen. Oop. Y'all can see this? I'm good. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'll walk through really quickly a little bit about Bliss, about our fellowship, but want to turn it to our poets as soon as possible. Yeah, so Bliss, we're now a team of 8, which is really crazy. But our mission is to spark radical collaboration and narrative alignment between and within Black, Indigenous, and transformative social movements to repair, decolonize, and reshape culture. So some of y'all will interact with different members of Bliss in different ways. And yeah, just excited to continue to help grow the reparations movement. What we focus on at Bliss a lot is solidarity narratives, which we define as a collection of stories that circulate within a society that convene themes of interconnectedness, mutual responsibility, and collectivism. And we see solidarity narratives and solidarity writ large as a political strategy. We feel as if we need solidarity both within the reparations movement and across the reparations movement to be able to make reparations a reality. So our goal at Bliss is to grow movements, braid narratives, and cement a transformed national narrative and identity of what we now call the United States. So national narrative and identity, meaning like who we are, who we claim to be, in essence, our mission statement of this country. And we believe that this new narrative should in part reframe the quote unquote founding of this country to the settling and reimagine the core story of the quote unquote American dream, from idolizing wealth hoarding to prioritizing collective well-being. So we have a 2-pronged strategy that's an inside and outside power building strategy. Our inside power building strategy is essentially creating a narrative base. So we are recruiting a number of organizers, researchers, storytellers to join as our founding collective members. So Jean-Pierre from NJISJ will be representing them as part of the collective. I believe Jamoke will be representing First Repair, and we have a number of other folks within the reparations movement, like Nkichi and the Reparations Education Project, Rich over from Equity and Transformation, the folks at California Black Power Network, Movement for Black Lives. And then as you'll see, we have folks from other movements as well, the Land Back Movement, the Guaranteed Income Movement, Baby Bonds, and then a number of storytellers. So we have filmmakers, we have writers, we have comedians, and we have researchers. And we'll bring our members together to create solidarity narratives that we can push across society. And then our outside power building strategy kind of functions a little bit like a think tank. So we do social science research, surveys, randomized controlled trials, message testing. We help build and support coalitions. And so we're one of the backbone organizations for New Yorkers for Reparations, a coalition in New York, and a number of other coalitions we support. Create, which is where the Poet Fellowship falls underneath. We support local campaigns and organizations with like cultural production, artifacts, and fellows. And then the last C is consult. So we support grassroots orgs, impact storytellers, and funders with their narrative and culture change efforts. And so one of the first pieces of research that we did was with one of our members, Garrison Hayes, who recently just interviewed Barack Obama like a couple days ago. The interview dropped today. But we worked with Garrison to produce 3 videos. If you were at the First Repair conference last year, you'll see we presented on this. He made one video on land back, one on reparations, and one that uplifted both. He posted it on his TikTok. The video got over 200,000 views, but we know that views alone can't be our only metric of success. And so we found some pretty interesting insights when we tested all three videos. Strong baseline support. So 76% of Black folks support reparations. We also found that 81% of Indigenous folks support land back. Pretty strong cross-racial support. So 68% of Black folks support land back for Indigenous people, and 51% of Indigenous respondents support reparations for Black people. So we know that there's opportunity for solidarity building there. And we also know that Indigenous folks are the racial group that support reparations the most out of other racial groups. And then probably the most key finding, we found that the braided narrative worked. So the video that uplifted both reparations and land back was the only video that increased support for both movements. And it did so by 4%. Ooh. And then we also found that a hope gap exists. And this is kind of one of the bases of the fellowship. So we found that even though 76% of Black folks support reparations, only 19% of them believe it's possible. And even though 81% of Indigenous folks support land back, only 17% of them believe it's possible. And we see poets as kind of the vanguard of hope. And so that is something that we're exploring through the fellowship, how poets and poetry can help close that hope gap. And so one of the things that we asked our poets, who you'll hear from in a second, is to think about their audiences. As we think about growing the movement for reparations, we're really focused on the choir and the bass. And so we're asking our poets, who do you want to speak through in your poems through this fellowship? How can we close this hope gap? How can we expand the choir? And when we're expanding that choir, make sure that we're all singing the same or similar song, while also expanding our base of folks who are participating in the reparations movement. So yeah, we have 3 fellows this year. I won't read their full bios, but I'll let Lainey and Italy introduce ourselves. But we have a 3rd fellow, Soma, who isn't here today. But Soma Holland is a queer neurodivergent artist from the Pueblo of Laguna. They earned their BA in theater from the University of New Mexico in 2017. They've been living as a guest on Monsignor Lenape Canarsie Lands, which is Brooklyn, New York, since 2019. And they've been featured in Teen Vogue, NBC News, The New Yorker, and American Theater Magazine. They have 2 published poems as part of a collections in our Red Book and My Life. And they're currently working on the narration of a documentary film, Our Story, the Indigenous-led fight to protect Greater Chaco. And they currently serve on the board of the Pueblo Action Alliance. So that's Soma. I'll let Italy and Lainey introduce themselves, and then we'll talk a little bit about the fellowship. Italy, Lainey, y'all want to introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, Italy, you want to go first or should I?
You go first.
Okay, sure. Hi, I'm Lainey. I'm 20 years old. I go to NYU. I'm one of the inaugural fellows for PLIS, Poets for Liberation, which has been so amazing. I'm trying to think of what else I should say to introduce myself.
I can give you some things.
What's up, Italy?
Okay, period. Lainey is also a Brick Slam champion.
Oh,
She has touched the Apollo stage as well. And she is absolutely amazing, and you guys will learn more about her in like a
oh,
second.
shucks. Oh, well, now I'm going to do Italy. So Italy is also a 20-year-old NYU student, but she is majoring in drama. So she's going to be like a super famous actor, which is super cool. But she's also won so many competitions. You know, for example, she won the overall teen slam for like the whole state of New York, like last summer, right? And then you also won UVL, which is like the same talent show that Lady Gaga won when she went to NYU, if I'm correct. And then she also, I'm losing the words. She's also amazing and phenomenal. And she can also do cartwheels, which is like a really cool, fun fact about Italy that I didn't know until yesterday.
This is true.
And Lainey, didn't you just win Brooklyn's poetry slam thing yesterday? Do you want to say a little?
Yeah, I won I'm now the Brooklyn Poetry Slam finals champion, which was so cool because it's hosted by like Mahogany O. Brown and Jive Poetic, which are like really big poets in the NYC scene. So it's really fun to be, you know, passing on the torch. Plus, I'm pretty sure in the whole legacy of the slam, all of the winners have been Black women. So it's been nice to pass on that legacy.
Very much so.
Cool. Cool. So I'm gonna just talk really quickly about the goals and the structure of the fellowship. So the goals of the fellowship are to integrate poets into the movements that Bliss focuses on, embed narrative research into the poetry writing process, cultivate community. And as you'll see, Lainey and Italy are really amazing at that. And I love the fact that they introduce themselves. Strengthen identification with movement. So we really want all of our poets to feel like they are a part of the reparations movement. And I think things like this are important to help do that. Support local policy efforts. So all of our poets this year are located in New York, and we're trying to integrate them into our policy efforts there, and then organize and mobilize their poetry community. And then just lastly, the structure of the fellowship. Fellows meet monthly to explore what it means to be a poet for liberation, to dream together. They're writing one joint poem on solidarity, and they're also writing at least one poem on one of the movements that Bliss focuses on. They'll host a political education event. I'll drop a link in the chat. They're hosting their first event next Saturday on July 5th in New York, if anyone's in town. And then they'll also host a poetry showcase at the end of the year. And then we're also thinking about a leave behind. So whether that be a zine or an audio recording, but we want their voices to kind of everlast. So I'll turn it to Lainey and Italy to share a little bit about some poems that they've started to write for the fellowship. And then we just have some questions for them, but definitely want to leave time for folks to ask questions. So who's going first, Lainey or Italy?
I'm gonna go first because Italy's poem is way better.
That's crazy. Good day.
So my specific part of the movement that I was focusing on was reparations. And so I struggled a lot in navigating my reparations poem, honestly, because I felt like I kind of had this overarching feeling that like, although like, I was like a Black person who like generally understood and like cared for reparations, I didn't have the knowledge or the background or anything to be trying to communicate it to other people. So instead I kind of just started the poem with kind of wrapping it around what I understood about reparations and rather than trying to make it anything else. And I'm just gonna share it and hopefully that'll speak for itself. Give me 1 second to pull it up. Okay. So here's everything I know about reparations. It is only a foreign concept when applied to Black Americans. By that, I mean, when France lost Haiti as a colony, they charged them $21 billion in retribution. In other words, they quite literally had to pay the price for their freedom for France's loss of property. Shaped like Black bodies, and this was not only allowed but applauded. Internationally, the Western world calls it righteous the way white hands sneak into Black pockets and pull out a dollar. France was proper pimp the way they traded bodies like playing card. The game, keep the Black man down, and the rules, make sure he can't rise up. The boundaries limitless, and everyone's a team player. I know reparations ain't a foreign concept because compensation been the standard for everybody except us. When slavery was abolished in DC, slave owners got paid for their loss of property, got their slice of the American pie with a side of pension, drink Black grief like gravy, and ain't it crazy? The way you are entitled to compensation for losing a slave, just not for being one. We pay the murderer and blame the victim for not keeping up. Congress makes more excuses than the justice system. Black men built the White House knowing they would never be invited in, so Uncle Sam must be a witch. The way he got us all convinced reparations ain't feasible, says the money just ain't there, shows us empty pockets and hide their bulging wallets behind the buildings we're too brown paper bag to walk into. Do you know how much Trump spent bombing Iran? $25 million. Do you know how much Trump spent on his birthday parade that nobody attended? $40 million. Do you know how much Eric Adams gave NYPD last year? $10.8 billion. And they claim our country can't afford the cost of reparations like Trump's chump change couldn't change a nigga's life. In the background of this poem, there's a Black baby about to be evicted from their bassinet. Can you hear them crying? Or is it too hard? Over the sounds of your tax dollars breaking like bombs you didn't know about. My mama ain't raised no beggar, but she did teach me to always get what I was owed, and we owed a lot more than 40 acres and a mule. My bloodline is baked into the American pie, and I'll be damned if we don't get no slice. Thank you. So something I really wanted to focus on in that poem, I feel, was the hope gap that Trevor was talking about. Because I feel like one of the things that bothered me a lot with like with people not necessarily like people liking the idea of reparations but not believing that it's feasible. I feel like something that bothered me with that is that like we come from a country with such like an expansive amount of money, and just like understanding, you know, because I'm Haitian, and just like understanding how Haiti's version of like, you know, retribution in a way has like spiraled and led their country into this like downfall. And then just thinking of like what it looks like for us to understand and see how quickly they're able to understand reparations in the context of everybody else, and just reframing it to remind us that we do have a part of that. So that's what I tried to do with mine. Italy.
That's a crazy, crazy thing to follow. But for my poem, I decided to do a poem about baby bonds, which is one of the movements that I think we feel like gets a little less kind of light shine on them. But something that I've learned through writing my poem and through like performing it now is that all of the issues that we're focused on at Bliss, as far as like our fellowship with like land back and reparations, like baby bonds very much so is like embedded into both of those. So yeah, that's kind of the heart of my poem or whatevs. So yeah, I'm gonna do it. It's crazy to follow Lainey after she just did that, because that poem is crazy. By the way, guys, she wrote that on the train. I'm sorry, I just have to say this. She wrote that on a train ride in New York, which is crazy. Okay, let me lock in. Okay. I grew up on the sounds of scratching. Heard the scratches of scratch off lottery tickets. My grandma would use her last penny to scratch for pennies. Spare change ain't never seemed to change our situation, but she scratched, convinced a miracle would show itself on paper, the patience of a penny. How Lincoln stares at those he supposedly freed, and maybe this ticket will free us. Play the game and the burden will be lifted off your back. The burden to make ends meet when your pockets only know finish line. Convinced the dime could duplicate in seconds. When we go and realize the lottery be silent weapons, the projection of who you think you can be or who Lincoln freed. You don't get to have generational wealth in this country. White people got trust funds. We don't got no funds to trust to save us, just scratch offs so we can itch at hope. Fuck being woke if the system continues to sleep. How is there a mega millions and 14 million starving babies? I don't understand. I see my role models itching for another chance as if they were ever given one. Different races racing to a jackpot. How capitalism breaks spines, turns humans into spirits. The last time my grandma felt that itch, she stared at Lincoln in the eye and said, fuck you, and he stayed turned. Can't ever seem to face the truth. Seems like every founding father finds an excuse to keep the system turning, keep your hands burning. Like, what numbers did your grandmother play last night on her last dollar? Bet it wasn't 911. Seems niggas know they can never get help. Funny how we literally have a synonym for poor. It's broke like we broken, but we break through America's maze every day. Try to survive, but the only way is to make trust funds everybody's right. Closing the disparity gap is right. No president has made it right, so we have to take back our rights, and the poets will write. Thank you, guys. That was a whole lot to do on Zoom. Wow.
Yes.
That was
Come on, poets. And just a
Hello.
reminder, these poets are 20 years old. Lainey and Italy are 20 years old, rising juniors. And to me, they are the vanguards of hope and really the next generation of the reparations movement. And yeah, they've been fellows for a couple months, and to me already understand the intricacies of the movement and are able to verbalize that beautifully through poetry. And I think even though Italy's poem is focused on baby bonds, I think there's a number of lines in there that speak directly to the reparations movement, particularly that Abraham Lincoln line. So appreciate y'all. Just gonna ask one question and then see if others have questions. But question is, what does being a poet for liberation mean to you, and how can the reparations movement partner with poets? Yeah, we'll leave it at that question and see if others have questions.
I'll answer first. So for the question of what does being a poet for liberation mean for you, I'm gonna steal a line from one of Italy's poems. But I was reading one of Italy's poems the other day, and she had this line, and it's like, when the revolutionaries die, the poets bury their body in a poem. And so for me, being a poet for liberation means taking accountability and being aware of where I am and the fact that I live in America and the fact that I have the privilege to write, perform, share, speak, and I can do that without facing many real consequences. And so for me, being a poet for liberation means using that privilege and speaking out about it, and also like taking, like understanding that my poetry is for me, but also being willing to do the work and the research to make sure that my poetry is doing like the real work that we need today in the real world. Because like right now, and especially like at the time that our like fellowship really came into being, there was so much happening politically, and it was really easy to kind of just like disengage. And so I feel like being with you and having the Poet for Liberation Fellowship has like reminded me to like stay engaged and to like sit in that pocket of what is happening in the world, and to take a to look around, to take it all in, and then to be willing to breathe it back out is the best way I would put it.
Yeah, for me, it's very much like being a poet for liberation very much is like, for me, it's like changing the narrative on what it means to actively be engaged and changing the narrative on what it means to be an activist, if that makes sense. I think that our generation in particular has kind of put walls around activism and what activism looks like, because we want to make change and we want to move forward and we want to like, which is the great thing about our generation. But I think that that has led us to thinking that activism only looks like the front lines, or activism only looks like a certain particular thread of action. And I think that being a poet for liberation has made me realize that like I have the ability to actively engage with my community and lead my community in a way that is cathartic and actively reaches them, but also inspires them to take whatever sources or whatever kind of labels they want to go into if they choose activism on any level, like whether it's this or that. Like there's no hierarchy to activism, if that makes sense. So it's definitely taught me that 100%. And I also think it's redefined like desensitization, because I feel like another thing with like the rise of social media and being able to see wars in real time and the 24-hour news cycle on your phone constantly, we get desensitized to issues globally, state, nationally, all of it. And I think that poetry has allowed me to, one, be present with those things for myself, and also help other people be present with them without them feeling like they have to disengage, because it's such a real cathartic exchange. Like I always considered poetry to be more of an experience and a conversation than it is actual performance. So it gives people space to kind of breathe in between those things.
Amazing. I see a hand. Dr. Michael Crowley.
Yeah. Oh wow. That was incredible. I actually joined a little late because your comment about activism taking many forms. I was actually teaching a global cybersecurity class. We had about 3,000 people from around the world on that joint, and technology. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. But from what I caught, that was an amazing articulation. Is there a website or something with this poets? Because you might have put it up there. I might have missed it. With what's going on and what y'all are doing.
Yeah, I'll drop the Bliss website in the chat. You can learn more about the fellowship. And then towards the end of the fellowship, our poets will have a showcase in New York, a poetry slam. They're going to do a liberation poetry slam in New York. So we'll record that, and we'll definitely make it available on our website, on social media.
When is it? When is it in New York? That's where I'm from.
We haven't set a date yet, but probably November.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get on your mailing list. That's my hometown. I'll come up there and check that out.
Yes, please.
Well, coming up sooner, if you're free on July 5th, we also have our political education event if you want to come. And we'll be doing those same poems, as well as Soma will be doing a poem. And, if you want to come through, and we're going to have a videographer there, so we might have videos from that.
And
The
it'll be
5th
free
would be
food.
tight because of 4th of July weekend, but if you got something else between that and November, I mean, y'all got a mailing list or something?
Yeah,
Fill
it's
out?
on our website.
All right, we talk.
And we'll send it to Robin to make sure she can send it around. Any other questions? If not, the one question I want to make sure to ask is, how do y'all, Lainey in Italy, how would you want everyone on the screen, other folks in the reparations movement, to partner with you and to partner with poets?
This is a great question. I believe, I am a soul believer, maybe it's because I'm biased and I am a poet. I believe that every single event, activism or not, movement or not, needs a poet. Always, I don't know, I feel like the art form in itself is not as mainstream as other art forms, which, I'm not complaining, that I like that we rare a little bit. But at the same time, I feel like we are innately very much significant to setting the tone and the vibes and the general movement and motivation for action inside of rooms. So I feel like if you guys can connect with us on any level, if you guys are doing any events in any shape, way, or form, and you guys want poets to open up your event to set the general tone, to set inspiration, to set an active form of engagement and like eyes on like, I felt that, whether it's even if it's one line, you know what I mean? I think that literally just having a poet in the room to kind of just be a vessel to speak about the things that nobody else wants to speak about is always a privilege and an opportunity to bring people closer together and not just statistics or numbers or this or that. Those things are valuable as well, but I think that we need to bring more connection, catharticism, and closeness and intimacy within the movement as well. And I think
Yeah.
we're really good for
I,
that.
I feel like picking back off of what Italy's saying, I feel like it would be really beautiful if we could see like people like you guys inviting poets into the like activism scene and also us like seeing people in the organizing scene at open mics or at showcases, and you guys seeing that and just seeing and recognizing the types of poets that are engaging with the things you're writing about, and just I feel like a lot of times poets, we have the emotional things where it's like we want to talk about the issues, but we don't have the specific knowledge that a lot of other people have. And so I feel like continuously coming to us and even giving us like the zines, like the reparations zine that went out, or giving us pamphlets that have to do with like information and just continuously feeding the poets with more information for them to transform into their art, I feel like would just be so amazing because we don't always know how to find that.
Yeah, agreed.
Robin P., you want to jump in?
Hi, this is Robin in St. Louis. I just want to say I'm a creative myself as well as the activist. Like we had our very first event on the campus of St. Louis University to honor our ancestors to help build and that St. Louis University. And there was a collaboration between the students, the Black Student Alliance, and that program was amazing. And I brought in a poet here in St. Louis. Her name was Energy. And she just set the whole tone, the vibe, and she did say things that I wanted to say, but let her do it in a creative way. It was amazing. And so I agree with you. We definitely need to bring that. And it's cathartic. It allows us to, that's part of our culture, using words and things like that. And I think that is great. And so definitely I look forward to more of this and bringing you guys in. And I love that term. What is it? Poets for Liberation. I love that. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Jamoke, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I definitely appreciate both of the poets and both of the poems. So I have two questions. One is like how much research did you all feel like you had to do before to get more knowledgeable about writing the poems? And then the other one is I guess a little different is how easy or difficult it is to transition from like writing poetry to writing like say maybe a screenplay or a script. Because like particularly with your poem, Italy, I was visualizing like a play. I could already see the movie with them, like a child talking to a grandma, why you playing that scratch off or whatever. So I was just wondering about that.
I can answer. So for me, with the research, I feel like it was a combination of a lot of things. Like part of like the research were just like things that I had been learning and like me trying to engage with my own history and my own ancestry ended up being things that showed up in the poem. And then also articles that I was assigned in human rights classes ended up being parts of the poems. And then I also like texted Trevor one day and was like, can you send me a video on reparations? Because I didn't feel like reading an article, but I did want to learn. And then they sent me like a little, Antonia had sent me like this little clip on reparations. So I was watching that and just like different, I feel like I picked up a bunch of different little things and that they all kind of slowly started to morph together because I was building my own kind of map of the world in a lot of ways. And I feel like I had to slowly let the pieces start connecting to each other. And I didn't really know how I would put them all together, but it came out all right. So I'm not mad at it. When it comes to transitioning into playwriting, I feel like it's like hard and easy at the same time. Like for me at least, well, okay, I'd say this. It's when it's doing a one-woman play, like a one-person play, transitioning from poetry to playwriting isn't that hard. When there's multiple characters, I feel like it's a little bit more difficult. But I don't know. In my experiences with it, I end up like the first page ends up reading like a poem, and then by the time I'm to the second, third page, I'm like fully writing and play. So I just kind of have to let myself phase out of it, and then also allowing it to blend, and then kind of falling in love with the way that my writing will always be innately poetic, but I can always make it more conversational. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention this instead of Lainey's bio. She's also did a one-woman play at the Public Theater because she's crazy. Anyways, answering the question, I appreciate that you said that my poem kind of looked like a play. That's a very, very big compliment. Thank you. For me, this poem actually didn't even start off as I'm gonna write my poem for my fellowship at all. It quite literally didn't start off like that at all until I realized midway. I was like, wait, this is Baby Bonds. But I was actually about to get on, dang, what is that train called? The Path. I was about to get on the Path. And I quite literally was sitting right next to this woman. It was an older Black woman, and she was scratching a lottery ticket. And like, I don't like they've always like innately pissed me off. So that visual that you saw of like a little kid looking at their grandma, that was me growing up, like quite literally all of my life. And seeing her actively do that next to me, like kind of brought that whole memory back. And that's just kind of what led me to writing. And then I started to think about like the coin and the fact that like you're scratching with a coin off of one of the founding fathers and they're not even looking at you. And like it was just a lot. Like I was just going through a lot that day. And I was just like, yeah. Anyways, and then as far as transitioning to screenwriting or playwriting, I don't personally do playwriting, but I'm very, very inspired by it because I'm a theater kid myself. I go to NYU for acting, so I very much am an actor. I wouldn't say I'm the right tour. But
She's
as far
not saying enough. I'd like to say that Italy has just graduated from her second year at Atlantic Acting School.
okay. Anyways, I really love how we just literally support each other through every single little thing. But yeah, I do like little films and stuff of my poetry because I feel like a lot of it is very visually based. I'm a very imagery.
It's not a little film. She just released one of her first poetry films called Coiling. That's about her relationship to hair as a Black woman, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, that answers the question, hopefully. Thank you.
Well, appreciate y'all. Robin, I'll turn it back to you. But yeah, just appreciate Lainey and Italy. As I mentioned, they're rising juniors, and I really feel like we will see them on the big screen, on the stage. And hopefully through this fellowship, they feel a deeper part of the reparations movement. And I hope that follows them throughout the arc of their career.
Incredible work. You all are brilliant. What a gift that was for us. We usually don't get that type of gift at our strategy session. So thank you. Trevor, if you want to send me anything that we can share when we share out the video from this meeting, that will be great, and we'll pass it along. That actually concludes our meeting. I want to make sure that I leave one more moment if anyone forgot an important event. One that I did forget is in Evanston. We're also having a Reparations Stakeholder Authority of Evanston. Vanessa may have put it in the chat, but an email just went out from First Repair. So hopefully you're on our listserv and you'll see email with details on that event. And if there is nothing else, I see Mr. Meadow, Brother Meadows.
Yes, just so if anyone is in the Chicago area, July 3rd is actually Illinois Independence Day for Returning Citizens.
Okay.
And that's an official day that Congressman Danny Davis and State Rep LaShawn Ford, they got that here in Illinois. So if anybody's in that area, we're having an event at the Austin Town Hall in Chicago from 10 to 2. So I know, so I heard somebody talk about Evanston, that's right down the street. So we're having that event July 3rd, 10 to 2 at the Austin Town Hall.
Thank you for sharing that. And what organization are you with?
I work for the Institute for Nonviolence Chicago.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Seeing that there's nothing else, I really encourage everyone to join your regional strategy session. A lot of good work is happening there, especially those in the East and Mid-Atlantic. You have a lot to discuss around what happened in Maryland. I know that our own brother, Reverend Dr. Turner, has been really leading in that space along with others. So please look out for emails from First Repair. Get in touch with us at info@firstrepair.org. If it's general, if it's more specific, contact any one of us on the team. And everybody take good care of yourself.
You too, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting this amazing session,
Thank
Mom. Good
you.
job.
Thank you so much. You guys all have a great day.
You too.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.